Should I explain the thumbnail? Nah, if you've seen the movie, you know what it means. Bullet Train is directed by David Leitch and stars Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, and Joey King. When a briefcase of much value is placed on a train in Japan, 5 assassins race to acquire it, with each having their own motives to kill for it. The first time I saw a trailer for this movie months ago, I was excited. This looked like so much fun. It looked so funny, it looked so action-packed, it looked good, it seemed like it was going to have a good soundtrack. I was hyped from the get-go just hearing about it. And every single time I saw a trailer before seeing this movie, I got just as hyped as I did the first time I saw the trailer. And seeing it now, on the big screen in its entirety, I can honestly say I had just as much fun as I thought I was going to get out of this movie just from seeing that first trailer. Everything that I could have possibly wanted out of this movie, I got in some way, shape, or form, starting with the actors and the characters, both of which are fantastic. These characters and these actors are just what I wanted out of this movie. Sure, the characters as they're written have their own motivations and character traits, but they're not the most interesting at first glance. But then you have the actors bring them to life with the actors' signature chemistries, and it's so good. Brad Pitt plays this hitman who doesn't want to kill anyone anymore, but at the same time is constantly accidentally killing people. Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry play this duo that have incredible chemistry with each other. You really do care about both characters, and even though sometimes their sort of dynamic and their character traits have to be explained, most of their dynamic is just seen through the dialogue and just how well these two actors interact with each other. Just seeing them interact, you completely understand their dynamic. Joey King is also really fun as this semi-villain of the movie, and the cameos and the characters and even the lesser sort of supporting players of the film all have their own sort of personality that, even though they could show up for maybe a scene or maybe 2 scenes, you do find yourself remembering them afterwards. And along with that, you have the action. The action in the movie is so much fun. Not only is the choreography actually really good in the film, but along with that, the action also incorporates the setting of the bullet train. Because the cars are so compact, you can't really get the most extravagant of maneuvers in the fights, but to compensate for that, along with somewhat fist fights and gunfights, you do have scenes where characters will actually interact with the setting around them, using fire extinguishers and laptops and the chairs themselves in order to fight. It's fast, it's creative, it's smooth, it's inventive, and I loved it. And along with that, you have some of the more lesser aspects of the film, but even then, those lesser aspects are still really good. Like the visuals and the cinematography are mostly made up on neon-colored lights, and me personally, I'm a sucker for that sort of lighting, so I loved the way this movie looked. The soundtrack is also really good. A lot of the writing, like a good 90% of the writing, is actually really hilarious. And there were times in this movie where I legitimately didn't know exactly what was going to happen. They were killing off characters left and right. They were changing power dynamics in the movie constantly. And even though they constantly shifted what was going to happen in the film, it never felt like they were just making up what was going to happen on the fly. Especially by the end of the film, and how you see how each assassin and their separate stories interconnected with the overall story of the film. It really does feel very clever, and in a way that is unpredictable yet not sloppy. Are there flaws with the movie? Yeah, of course there are. For one, yeah, even though the grand majority of jokes in the movie are really funny, there are jokes that either don't land or go on for too long. Like, do you remember the quiet car scene in the trailer and how there is a fight sequence in that scene? Well, intercut with just acknowledging that they are in the quiet car and that creative fight, there is like 5 minutes of quips that just go on for too long. We get the joke, you've said the funny lines, even the people who haven't seen the trailer know there's going to be a fight scene, so just get on with the fight scene so that we can just be done with it. Stuff like that happens a lot, and also I do have a minor issue. Well, minor because I really don't want to not like this movie, because in actuality, it is a flaw with the movie, and that is the structure. You can tell that the whole story and style of this movie is taking a lot of inspiration from Tarantino's style and Guy Ritchie's style, and they do have scenes where we'll be following the present actions of a scene, but in between that moment, you do cut to an earlier moment, like 24 hours earlier, 17 hours earlier, something like that, and see the origin behind a plot point or character. And sometimes I didn't really get behind it. Sometimes it can be clever, like a Tarantino style or a Guy Ritchie style. But other times, in fact, a good majority of the time this happens, it felt like 2016 Suicide Squad in a way. And don't get me wrong, guilty pleasure-wise, I enjoyed the 2016 Suicide Squad. But objectively, But to be fair, those are my biggest problems with the movie. And in hindsight, those are major problems, but compared to everything else in the film, I don't really care all that much. I loved this movie. The acting and chemistry is fantastic, the characters are all likable, the action is creative, most of the comedy is great, the soundtrack is catchy, and the story always keeps you guessing what's gonna happen next. Some of the jokes are dragged out for too long, and the structure of the movie can often make the story feel overly edited, but the rest of the movie is so much fun, I didn't really care all that much in the moment. This movie has like a 50% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it just makes me think, man, some people just don't know how to have fun, do they? I'm going to give Bullet Train an A-. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite action comedy? For me, it's gotta be Hot Fuzz. That movie is genius. Just pure insane genius. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.